Brown, and I help people navigate the changes that come up for them and the stress that arises by helping set boundaries, fulfill their personal needs, and then practice self care so they can show up for themselves and their family with more energy um, and just more vibrancy, I would say. But today, I wanted to spend some time with you guys, share some tips to help you move through a particular stage of transition and change. We're going to add a little more context as we go through, but in the end, this stage is called the neutral zone. Um, and the way we got to this topic, funny enough, was about 3 weeks ago. I polled my LinkedIn community and I said, hey, when you're going through a transition, when you're going through a life transition, which stage do you consider the most difficult? Well, the three options I provided were again, the ending of a phase, the middle stage of confusion, and then the beginning of a new phase. Well, of course, I didn't write the world's best survey on that, and I kind of led the witness. But I did have 100 or so responses back, and the overwhelming, sentiment from those responses was that the middle period of confusion really does impact people in a certain way. And so that was the winner of that survey, if you will, right? But here's the thing. I have the main takeaway from that survey is truly like one, people don't like confusion or the word itself, or if it's even associated with the prompt, probably more than that being the primary answer. So for what it's worth, we're going to spend some time today just really talking about that neutral zone or the middle phase of confusion. So in all fairness, yeah, I led the witness a little bit on that, but forgive me and let's see what we all can learn together and discover as we go. All right. But again, let's keep everybody on the same page. We're going to try to make this interactive as we go too, of course. So when it comes down to transition, we're defining transition as a change of some sort. Okay. And that's minor or major, that's going to impact your life at the moment. Sometimes those changes don't have to impact, of course, at the moment. They can be, after a while, after a period of time has elapsed. But we're really going to focus on it as what you're currently experiencing at this time or period of life. Okay. So when we talk about life transitions, I think, many people have a great awareness around the examples that come to mind, like the major examples, the big ones, right? So there's this aspect of marriage, getting married, somebody's getting married, or the other side of the coin being someone experiencing a divorce, or you experiencing a divorce, or then there's the birth of a child, right? Or the birth of a pet in some cases, the start of a new business, right? And then there is, of course, the demise or the death of someone or something. Those typically seem to be where everyone lands in terms of big, major life changes, right? Well, we typically take time and we place those types of changes, those major changes in our mind in such a way where we can almost reason with ourselves. We can admit that those are going to be a major change. I need to have more self-compassion. I need to be able to give myself space to experience what I'm experiencing. I don't want to take too much on, because this is a major change. So as people, we just generally give ourselves this additional room to navigate it. What we typically don't do is we don't identify the subtle, if you will, transitions that occur in between those major changes. And then often enough, we get into those changes and transitions that are less subtle, um, but they're equally as impactful because they create more confusion. You start to experience confusion with them, and that can happen. So when I talk about those more subtle changes, I think about it from the standpoint of you got a promotion. Sometimes we want a promotion so bad, and then when we get it, it does shift our world around a little bit, and we may not have accounted for it fully when we were really seeking that out. Or again, experiencing success, like a extreme level of success. It may be new to you, right? Just having that level of success, or experiencing it fully and everything that comes with it. It is a change. Then lastly, I would say we have some other aspects, right, that are still as noisy, but you just really don't account for them. For example, again, losing a platonic relationship or friendship, it happens. We go through life, friendships change, people change. You don't know why they change at times. It's in that moment that we start to really understand how that and meaningful that relationship is, too, right? So, and then lastly, I would say one consistent changing phase of life that we know and we experience physically, but we really don't account for it in a way, is just plain old getting old. We aging is such a impactful thing, but we don't realize it until it's like right upon us, or we try to do something and then we physically experience. But we're always consistently kind of just going through a motion that is advancing forward when it comes to aging. And realistically, I think we can do that as another topic another day, right? So, but it's in that and in these other changes that we're able to kind of create those three phases and break them out to the end of an era, if you will, or the end of something, whether it's a relationship or a career, in a specific way. And then we get the opportunity to use this neutral zone in this neutral period to navigate into the new start and the beginning of a new period with energy, with clarity. However, again, most times it does become a period of confusion. So we have to realize and work through that. And that's what I'm hoping you walk away with today for sure, is kind of what that looks like, what that feels like, so you can identify if you're in the middle. You may be in the middle of a period right now, right? So lastly, it does go back to, how do we want to go and start something new? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And if there's a way to really position ourselves to do that more fully, again, we can do that. And that's what we're going to learn today, is how we can leverage this neutral zone. It does feel confusing. There's some reasons on why it's confusing, but there's a chance and opportunity for us to reframe it in a way to where it really catapults us forward. All right. So similarities of most changes go back to, again, the end, the middle, the beginning. Very simple, right? What we define as the neutral zone or the middle is really set aside as a period that can be defined as a timeout, if you will, right? So when you start to recognize that there's a break of continuity in life at the moment, like the motion is not the same, it's still kind of in a position where whatever chapter you were previously in, and whatever period you were working through to end, you really have mentally, physically, emotionally ended that period. You're not looking to go back there, right? But you haven't quite used or moved directly, rather, to the start and the beginning of something else. You just know that there's a new beginning somewhere out there, somewhere down the road. The question is, what do you do with this period when you haven't started that, right? So you really do start to just get into yourself in this neutral zone period and understand, like, yo, things aren't the same. It's not moving as the way I thought it would be, or it's not um, as continuous as I expect it to be. So we really know at that point that that's going to define, you know, this middle period. Okay, because again, it's natural for us to want to go directly from the end to the beginning, but nothing really works like that, right? So if you want to get a chance, treat it like it's going through a stoplight. There's a red light, there's a yellow light, there's a green light, and that's kind of how we want to now navigate the transitions that we're going through. All right. So why is there so much confusion? What happens typically when we do have the end of an engagement or the end of a relationship, a chapter in which our career is defined or we identify as it. Um, at that point, as much as we want to have planned it all out, especially if it's in our control, we really don't step through it. We get to the end, it's done, we've turned in everything. And as we move forward, while we have in our mind that, hey, this is how we want to begin, there is this point that gets really noisy, right? So, what makes it feel confusing and unsettling in many respects is that there's a lot of noise. People generally, out of their best interest, ask you, what are you going to do next? You know, what are you thinking about getting into? What are you going to do now with your relationship ending? What are you going to do with this opportunity to find a new relationship? A lot of times, those questions land on people to where it almost makes it feel like you should have it all figured out at that moment, at that time. But what it adds up to for people and for yourself at times, and even for myself especially, is like it's just additional noise. And that noise means that it's taking you from your ability to really answer those questions as earnest as you need to answer them, so you can really be accurate and succinct in how you go forward to this next chapter, right? So again, people will use this period as well right at the end to give you their answers for how you should move forward. And I'm certain of this for sure. They mean well. They want to help you out in the best way possible, but realistically, everybody gets to carry their own baggage around, right? From their accumulated experiences, and sometimes they help you out by giving you some of their baggage, and it doesn't really help you at that moment as often as they think it can be, right? So it does. It gets mighty noisy for folks in that point between the end and the beginning of something new. The second reason I would say that, you know, this particular period of time is confusing is because we don't like timeouts, right? Like we rarely take these moments to understand and really pull away, right? Because we are in life kind of wired to go to the next thing. What's the next mountain we're going to climb? What's the next achievement that we're going to strive for? This is not what I want. I'm ready for the next thing. And we're so consistently pushing to the next goal, next task, the next marker of achievement. But we don't really know how to take, say, a timeout. So that's what this period is. It's really just a moment in time out. And while we, you know, often try to ignore it, if we don't ignore it, there's a possibility that we can make it work for us and be an advantage for us, if you will, so we can really be prepared for that next step, right? Which is getting to that start, getting to the place where we are excited about the new beginning, getting to the point where that renewal of energy and placement is for us personally, so we can just get that motion and that certain feel about life again, you know? So that's what it can be. And that's what I want to make sure we walk out of here with is can we make the neutral zone, the middle portion of a transition less confusing? Because it doesn't have to be, all right? So in the end, let's reframe it. One way to do that is you're going to use it to get your own perspective. Let's leverage this middle portion of a transition to get your own perspective. This is one way you can eliminate the noise, right? Is you have this timeout serve exactly as what it is. You can decide how you want to do that, how you want to execute that, but in the end, you're figuring out and you're not moving to nobody else's rhythm but your own. And you're taking the moment in time to really just navigate that fully by just getting perspective. Where have you, journeyed through? Where have you come from? So it takes this moment of review, energetically, systematically, just checking in with yourself to gain perspective of what you've been able to accomplish, to really get a sense of where you want to go, whether it's with your relationships or career or anything else, right? So use this middle to get perspective on how you want to go forward. The second thing you can do with the neutral zone is actually try to make it work for you in the sense of getting the self renewal, like getting your energy stores built back up, getting that spice of life like in shape and in gear to where you feel like, hey, this is perfect. I am trusting myself. I'm getting back to that part of me that I've ignored often, or didn't allow to have space in that previous experience that I was living, right? That's what you wanted to do. You want to bolster yourself up as best as you can in that middle moment, so you can feel like whatever I step into next is going to be aligned with me, and I'm going to have the energy for whatever it is. Um, and that's what really going from end to beginning without just giving that break, giving that peace, giving that time out. That's what you miss out on that can really make the new beginnings feel special and feel invigorating, right? So again, we want to make sure that whatever you're stepping through, let's get a piece of renewal, if you will, and try to find a way to get that self renewal in place. And then lastly, I would say the last thing of how to make it less confusing, but really make it work for you is you can use this period to figure out exactly what you want. Now, I pause there because it's one of the toughest questions that we all face, right? Like, what do we really want? What do we really want? Well, oftentimes, to figure out what we really want, we have to, again, find space, find the time to really kind of pull away from the additional voices and the additional distraction, and really kind of just take note of where we've been, what interests we have, what things we've enjoyed along the way that we didn't get enough of or do enough of, and then try to maybe see if that's where we want to invest more time in for the next stage, right? So if you knew you had a space to do that, the chances are you would use that space. And that's what this middle phase can be and could be for you, a chance to get perspective, to get your energy stores back up and feel renewed to where you can really be ready for that next stage, right? But also just making sure that you understand exactly what you want. So when you do decide, hey, I'm going to invest energy in one place and not the next, it's moving you exactly where you want to move. It won't be wasted, right? And it won't be you getting the new start, getting the new beginning, and just saying, hey, I don't want to be here after all. Because then that's a whole nother conversation, right? So with that, I want to just say that again, if we take the moments to reframe what changes and transitions, how they show up, and really empower ourselves to make sure that as we notate the end of something and we start searching for that new beginning, that period before the new beginning in which you haven't maybe defined it out fully or you haven't started it, for example, can be very powerful for you, and it can just really give you what you need to make the most of it. All right. So get perspective in the middle, get some self-renewal, but lastly, figure out if you can what you really want. So when you do start to pursue it in the new beginning, it's really aligned to what you do. Now, with that being said, that's what I have for you today. If any of this resonates with you, or if you want to get in contact with me, please follow me on LinkedIn, or also reach out to me on my website, carltonbrowncoaching.com, where I do have new posts. I have a new newsletter coming out. And if you would like to be a part of that as well, you can sign up there, or just DM me directly and I'll add you to my list. All right. So look forward to talking with you soon. And again, thank you for your time. Have a good one. All right. Take care.